Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I wanted to do today, this is right before Thanksgiving, but I wanted to show you a pattern that I'm observing that I'm not hearing anyone talk about. This is so much bigger than magazine bans. This is so much bigger than an individual rejection of a ban. There's a pattern I want to walk you through right now. Everything will be linked in the description box below. And please let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. We would love to have you join with us as we push our rights for this generation and the next one. All right, with that said, let's get into this because we've got a holiday to prepare for, but I wanted to show you this. Let me dive into this bad boy because one of the things that I really loved about this week was it was like Armageddon week for gun controllers. They had two really bad things happen for them back to back. One was Oregon Measure 114. The other was the Maryland decision around licensure to own. And that's what I want to hit on because there's a pattern developing over the last few months. We're talking about 6 to 9 months. Now, let me know in the comments below if you remember any of the things that we're about to talk about. But if you look at what we're doing and what we're seeing across the board, we are winning. We are going to pass this on to the next generation, and we need people to jump on, subscribe to the channel, and fuel the system because it is driving directly at them. And speaking of jumping on, it's interesting because when I told you guys that the YouTube algorithm may or may not have accidentally been unsubscribing people, all of a sudden we saw a massive spike when you guys checked your subscription. I'm sure it's a coincidence. I've got it for you on the screen, but just make sure that subscription's on. So let's get into this because there are things I've got to walk you through. Now, you guys remember back in March, this was an important one. North Carolina did something, and it's a little bit further back. But do you remember when they did this action? They overrode a Democrat Governor Cooper, his rejection and veto of repealing a pistol requirement, a licensure requirement. You remember that? Well, essentially what happened was the Republicans wanted to get rid of a 104-year-old Jim Crow era requirement to own a license for a handgun before you even purchased it. Democrats said, no, we think that's in place. That's a good thing. Well, Republicans overrode the veto, and now it's removed. That happened back in, March 29th of 2023. Coincidence? I think not, because this is speaking to a trend. Now, let's jump straight across the nation over to Oregon. This happened yesterday. One of the big things that was captured around the response to Measure 114 getting basically smacked around and said it cannot be implemented because it violates the Oregon Constitution at a state level, one of the things that kind of got overblown was the requirement to have a police-issued license to own a gun, the requirement to have training courses before you can buy the gun. This is a big part of it. A lot of what was captured last night on all the response in social media was magazine ban, dead, done, overdone, overruled, and killed. Yeah, but it's more than that. It's also pistol licensure. It's licensure to own. There's a lot of things here that are deeper than just the mag ban. Absolutely. Did the mag ban get removed? Yeah, it got smoked. But the other things in there are starting to stack with a lot of things that we're seeing on a national trend, which is enhancing freedom. That's why you guys watch this channel, because we're about trends and the why. This is key. And that's just number 2 evidence I've got for you. Now, let's jump over to Maryland. This is something else that happened this week. We covered it. This is Silveira and Bunch versus Wes Moore. This is the governor of Maryland, a gun control state, okay? They got some devastating news coming out of the 4th Circuit. And just to rehash it, for handguns specifically, before you do any of that, there is an additional preliminary step. You must also obtain a handgun qualification license. Getting that license requires, among other things, submitting fingerprints to undergo a background investigation and taking a 4-hour-long firearm safety training course in which you must fire at least 1 live round. Then, after submitting your application for the extra license, you must wait up to 30 days for approval before you can start the rest of the process. That is a handgun. That is a licensure to own a handgun. You have to have a license to own or buy something. It's a constitutional right. You cannot do that. Stack this together with North Carolina, stack it with Oregon Measure 114, and now stack it with Maryland. You have got a trend going against handgun licensure requirements or gun licensure requirements before you purchase. This is a really big deal, and it's almost like all these things on a macro level are going under the radar. Well, not here. All right, so now I got one more thing for you from the 4th Circuit. Listen to this. Maryland has not met its burden At Bruin's second step, Maryland must provide historical evidence that justifies its law. To do this, it may identify a historical analog demonstrating that its law falls within a historically recognized exception to the right to keep and bear arms. But the two historical examples that Maryland cites are not relevantly similar to the challenged law, and it has offered no other historical evidence to justify its law. Indeed, Maryland admitted at the oral argument that it had not presented a proper historical analog for the challenged law, noting that it had identified no founding era laws that required advance permission before a citizen could purchase a firearm. Do you understand what that just said? That just said there is nothing. The state of Maryland could not find anything in the founding era that where they could state a requirement for licensure to buy a gun or own a gun was found there. The Bruin decision is destroying this nationally. Again, just to recap, you've got Maryland, you've got Oregon, you've got North Carolina overriding a veto from the Democrats. This is something bigger than just individual mag ban overrule or AR ban overrule. This is something that goes to the heart of the gun control movement of requiring licensure for rights. You undermine that, you destroy that, their entire premise for gun control goes out the window because they cannot have licensure anymore. That's a really big deal, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. We got some work to do, people.